So today I'm going to be optimizing the most popular drift car or learn how to drift car in Assetto Corsa, and that is the BMW M3 E30 Drift. And this car is pretty basic with the setup options, but there's a few things that we can do to really make it just better and easier to drive. And it was important to note that we have everything set at the optimum grip levels, and it's a nice sunny day, and we want to have that to be kind of realistic to what you would experience in a real car. There's generally a consensus that the grip levels in real life are a hair higher than what's shown in something like a virtual representation like Assetto Corsa. Right here, I am adjusting a few things right off the bat, like ABS. You can choose to leave it on. It will still allow you to use the e-brake. But for right now, I'm going to just drive the car as is. And so I haven't made any adjustments aside from turning off ABS, and that's a personal preference. And so what I'm going to do here is just start driving the car and get a feel for it. So right now you can see that I had to use the e-brake. On the left side you can see that kind of damage indicator, and so when you see the rear tires of the car light up red like that, what that's showing you is that I'm starting to flat spot them or scrub them really hard. So that's usually happens when you start locking up brakes, and the e-brakes will show that. In the bottom left hand of the screen, you can see that I have the 4 tires being shown and that the tires are changing colors, and that's showing you the temperature. It's showing you the condition of the tires, and so as you see them going to red, that means that they're kind of getting out of that optimal temperature range, and they're starting to get into the we're really hot because I'm just roasting them right now. And as I get into the tighter portion of this course, you can see that I'm not having to use the e-brake, but I'm gonna really tighten it up here, and I didn't need to use it there, but kind of swinging the car around a lot just to get it to actually initiate the drift. A lot of e-brake use, a lot of left foot braking, and having your foot mashed to the gas just to get the thing to continue to stay sideways. And so you can see that the front tires on that tire wear indicator gauge, they're still blue, so that means that they're not getting into operating temperature. And you can see that the PSI is 35 for the left and then 34 for the right, and that my brakes are locking up. That's why you're seeing that damage indicator flash while I'm left foot braking, and so those front tires are actually locking up. So we're going to go ahead and start making some adjustments to fix that. But as you saw, that the car itself is right away, it's pretty easy to drive, and you can get away with doing some fun stuff on it. So here what we're going to do is we're going to confirm what we saw on that tire wear indicator. So you can see that it's showing the surface temperatures, and it's showing inner, middle, outer, again on the front tires. And you can actually see that the outer left is a little bit warmer, and this is in Celsius. And so we're going to make some camber adjustments there to fix that. And then you can see that the outer is colder than the inner, and that's for left and right on the rear tires. And so we can make some adjustments to optimize that. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make some toe adjustments, and that will help the vehicle steer a little bit better and then actually turn in more. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and go to the alignment, and I'm actually going to use less camber on the right side, less negative camber, because we can see that the inner is hotter than the outer, and so this will help optimize the grip levels on the front. And so the other thing I'm going to do is adjust the toe, and I'm actually running negative toe, and in Assetto Corsa, negative toe is toe out. So if you see a negative sign for the toe, that means that the tires are kind of like a duck or duck feet, and they're facing out. And so that'll help with steering response. And that's really helpful for people that are using things like a Logitech G29 steering wheel that doesn't really have a lot of response, like a 10 degrees off center. Here what I'm doing is that I'm adjusting the rear toe. And like I was saying, this car is representing what an E30 would be like with a lock differential via welding the spider gears. And so while that's great for oversteer, it's not so great for turning in because the whole entire axle is just locked up in the back. And so the car is kind of like a go-kart. It doesn't really want to turn in. And so what I did is that I actually am doing a toe out on this. And so you can see that the numbers are positive on the rear toe. And so that means that I'm getting them pretty close to being just completely straight or facing straight. And what that'll do is that'll make the vehicle actually turn in a little bit more. And so now next what I'm doing is that I'm actually dropping the front tire pressure because it's way too high, and we want to actually lower it so that you can get more flex in the front tires and it'll develop more heat. And so that'll make the tires actually grip more. So you can see here versus the first run, I'm already not even using the e-brake to get the car to steer in. The other thing you'll notice too is that I'm not running as much angle, and it looks like the car is not getting away as much. And so it's running shallower angles. And you'll see that here as I manji down this straightaway. I'm able to easily swing the car from left to right. Here, I can do the same thing, no e-brake. And notice how, well, I used a little bit of e-brake there, but notice how I'm able to really just get aggressive with the car and swing it around. I did use the e-brake there, and you can see that. And so in this tighter stuff, I'm able just to brake and use that weight transfer to get the car to steer in. Now here I use the brakes and actually use the e-brake as well, just to get the full rotation around that really tight section. And so with all that positive or that toe out did is that it makes it easier to catch the car, because the car always has some sort of friction. The slip angle's like always going, and so it actually makes the car want to self-steer better, which is something that you absolutely need for drifting. Like, I'm literally letting go of the steering wheel and the car is self-steering, and it's way more responsive. And when you get like really big countersteer angles like this, then it becomes even more important to have it catch. So if you look to your, you can see that the front left tire here is actually up to temp, or it's in the green. The right side isn't as warm, and it's just because there's more left hand, or there's more right hand turns that I'm doing, so it doesn't have the opportunity to get as hot. Because remember, you're counter steering, so all the weight's being transferred over to that left side, and that's why that tire is getting so hot. So pressure drop definitely helped. The car felt more balanced, and it had more of a neutral chassis feel, so it's not so much that it's understeering like it was in the first run. And the toe out helps with the steering response, and it also helps with keeping heat in those front tires, what you want. Readjusting the camber, because you can see that the outside is getting a little bit more work done to it. That's because of the pressure drop that I did, so that the tire's actually flexing and rolling more. And because you're adding more grip, then it's pulling the tire. And so we're going to actually add more camber on that left side, which is what I did. Back here you can see that everything looks good, and that the temperature range is actually not bad. And so if we saw something like the middle, if that was like really high, if it was like 185, then that means that the tire's starting to get too much pressure, and so it'll start to bulge in the center, and then that'll work that center more. So what I also did is that I adjusted the toe, and what I'm going to test now is actually running the toe. Basically, the tires are going to be pointing straight ahead, and so with that, the car should actually steer in even more. And so we're going to be testing that out right here. And car steers so well that I actually made a little mistake here. So yes, I do make mistakes. But what we'll notice is that having the tires pointing straight ahead, or less running less toe in, allows the vehicle to really steer in. And that's just because the differential setting is so tight. And so you can see here, I'm able to swing the car around. And look at this, there's no e-brake. It was just sitting on the actual brake pedal itself, and the car just naturally steers in. Same exact situation here. You didn't see that damage indicator pop up, so you know I'm not using the handbrake. And so this is also helpful for people who don't have a handbrake attachment. You can actually open the toe up and it'll let you steer in. Notice that I locked the front left wheel there, so that means that I was on the brakes and the car actually completely steered in. So that's what you're getting with that toe out setting. So essentially you can just sit there and have the car working and rotating and all of that, and do all of that with just the weight transfer from the brake pedal, and then getting on the gas to actually continue the rotation or just maintain. So now that we have the toe set like that, it's just easier to manage the car. You can spend more time really just learning how to drift, the different techniques, and the car isn't really like getting away from me in a sense. Like, I don't have too slow of hands because of the toe angle on the front, and really it just makes the car just that much nicer to drive, and so that makes it even better for learning. So you can see that the kind of the tire wear there has evened out, and it looks actually really good. So that's not like crazy showing the tire temperatures. That's not like crazy out of the operating range. I mean, we could use a little bit more toe, or not more toe, so more camber on that front left, but it's not the end of the world. So the most important thing to do is and note again, I'm using the street tires. I'm not using the semi-slicks or the 90s tires. The most important thing here is to save your setups. I'll give it an easy to use name. Like here, I'll call it the drift baseline. And the biggest takeaway is to save your setups, and so you have something to go back to, and you can always pull that. So you can come back here and grab that drift baseline, for example, and take that setup and those overall concepts, and then make slight adjustments to the camber for anything else you might need.